Right, thank you for joining me. I'm joined by Chava Erlanger, a Prestwich-based artist. And Chava, you've been working in the area for many years. How long now?
Approximately 10 years since I've graduated from my degree in Manchester University. So about 10 years. I've been running community workshops. So I'm a community artist as well as a concept artist. So I have two parts parallel. So I run part of my week is doing community work, and it is a way of earning money, but it's also a choice, a
Yeah,
life choice, because I see it as a duty as an artist. I think when you sit in a studio, okay, you create art, it goes into a gallery, you don't actually reach and change as many people's life as when you go into someone's house or into a group, and people, you can see the happiness and the joy um, of people when they're creating something, and they discover something about themselves, which you can't put a price on that. So that's one part I do, but in the same time I am an artist and I have the need to create. So I also do commissions. A lot of time I also do what you call art consultancy. So you don't actually see my work. I work with architects or designers, giving them ideas, helping them shape concepts. Yeah.
fantastic. So a lot of the stuff that you do can be classed as sort of art therapy, isn't it? In
Yeah.
terms of
So, well, I don't have actually a degree in art therapy. I came into the art therapy from a very different way. I'm a grandchild of Holocaust survivors, and I've based my research in university on the effect of Holocaust on second and third generation and expressing emotions through art. So my whole way of working is understanding the way art facilitates um, people or feelings and collects
yeah,
history, but I don't actually have a degree as an art therapist.
but it does form a large part of the work that you
Yes.
do on a day-to-day
Yes, it does.
basis.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've been looking at your post during lockdown. So, whilst the rest of us might not have been working as hard as you seem to be sending out packages every day to people with various different materials, and you've been running Zoom workshops for people. So, you really haven't stopped. You've probably never been busier.
So I'll tell you the truth. So how lockdown panned out for me. So it's an interesting thing what you say, because I hear this comment, oh, you've been busier than ever. But I think for me, work stopped much quicker than other people, because I work with vulnerable adults and people with chronic, with long-term illnesses. My work literally stopped. I went from being booked from morning till night to from one day to the next. I woke up and I was jobless.
Right.
So actually, the first 2-3 weeks, I was in absolute panic. I'm a single mom. My job is me.
Okay.
I have art commissions, which I all on standby.
Yeah.
And actually, I had two choices. And people always talk about choices you make in life. And I think it's an interesting one. I hear from so many people, COVID has destroyed my income. I can't do it. We don't have what to eat. And again, not judging. And I
Yeah.
know not everybody has the ability, but I had two choices. And one was to sit back and, call the local food bank and say, can you give me food? And the other one was to say, well, I have money left for so long. I am on my own after all, and I need to make a living, and I need to develop. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And I had to make a quick change in my mind, in my mindset, and start, changing the way I'm working through the computer, through Zoom, through the packages. Yeah,
And you've never looked back.
I've never looked back, and I can see now. I do miss, honestly, I miss my interaction. And I have a lot of what I call my old ladies, especially a lot of the survivors, which have been shielding since
Yeah.
March, which call me every week to say, when are you coming back? Or, can you not just come back to me?
Sweet.
Which is really nice, but also it reinforced me the importance of the job. But in the same time, I think business will change now, and the internet, I think certain parts of business, even after lockdown, will just people like that, the comfort of staying in their own home, getting door-to-door deliveries. I think that's the way forward. And although I'm not so old, as I say, I think I'm 25, but my son is 25, so it can't be. So, but for me, it's not natural for me to work through the internet. It wasn't my natural domain.
Yeah.
And also from art point of view, I realized I have to create something different, something which is more marketable, something which will give me a revenue, but still be something that I enjoy doing as an
Yeah.
artist, and also change, help people reflect and change things about their own lives.
That's amazing. So one of the things that obviously we're having this conversation about today, but one of the things people would have seen a lot of in the press and on people's windows and everywhere that you go, where we're saying thank you to the NHS, there's the symbol of the rainbow pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's become one of those things that is entirely sort of synonymous with lockdown and our experiences during COVID. But it's interesting, although we're all using the rainbow, nobody really takes time to sort of think about the significance of it and where this symbol comes from.
Yeah.
And it's actually, for those that don't know, it's a biblical symbol, isn't it?
Yeah.
That dates to the story of Noah and the flood. So
Yeah.
you've taken this and you've used this as inspiration in your latest piece of work. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I think what's interesting, people always ask me if I'm a religious artist, and I always say no. But I say when you're a practicing Jewess is the right English word. It's very hard for me to separate. It's sort of woven into who I am, so I can't really separate that. So the Bible, the histories always plays a part in my work, and I think it's very interesting that a rainbow is a symbol of the flood never returning and hope. And then the dove is when Noah is in the ark and he sends out the dove to see if the water is calm, is there any hope? And I think for me, very much being shielding, I'm shielding with my son probably till mid-August, if not longer, depends on, which is a long time. And I think when you stand by the window, and it's about trying to focus on the hope. And I think about something when I try to think back at something like the ark and the floods. It seems like the most chaotic situation. And if I compare it to how I felt the first few weeks of COVID, I remember when we first heard it was in China, it was, okay, it's in China,
Yeah.
and then it was in Italy, it's Italy, and then it arrived here in England, in Manchester. And I think that the overwhelming feeling for me, anyhow, personally, was that the world's coming to an end. I mean, there was a bit, for me, was a bit of feeling like, are we all going to die? How am I, and I think I'm imagining that's what happened in the flood. And then Noah still has this hope. He sends the dove. He still believes there's a future, there's hope. And that's very much for me one of the main thing. And I think people don't think about that. And another thing I was looking at, there's a poet, Yehuda Levi, which lived in Spain, in Spain, pre-Spanish Inquisition, and he wrote a lot of poetry, which I'm very much a big fan of and a big influence. And he talks about the dove finding a place of rest, and people this is free translation from Hebrew. He wrote most of his poets in Hebrew. He talks about how exhausted people find refuge. Now, during lockdown, unfortunately, my son was very ill, not with COVID, but he was in hospital for 4 weeks. And I was watching the NHS and, in operation under extreme circumstances. The nurses, I was one of the only family members on the wards allowed, trying to deal with everyone in very hard situation and really doing the best. I know there's a lot of criticism on the NHS. I must say I had some criticism myself, but actually when you look at individuals, they are, like, for me, they are the resting place, the ark, going on and maybe sometimes sacrificing their lives and putting their lives in danger.
Real life superheroes, right?
Yeah. I have a lot of respect to them. And I think that's all sort of woven into my piece of art, because I think for me, COVID has been also a bit of a life-changing in a way that I had a lot of time to reflect. I've been running the last few years. I feel like I've been running and never stopped. And I was forced to stop and think. And I think for me, one of the things that I realize now, I don't spend enough time with my family.
Yeah.
I don't see my kids ever. I work, I come home, I'm too tired. And I just thought, what, I'm managing with less. Do I need so much money? What's the point of earning more money if I can't enjoy my own children, my own family, my friends?
Yeah.
So there's a lot, I think, things that I would change in the future. I think I will cut down my hours just to
there are
time
some,
with
there are some amazing things, and I think it's easy to talk about them now where the pubs are open again today. So people are very excited and they're getting out there, and there is this chance that they might forget what we've all been through, because human nature is just to go back to what we used to.
Yeah.
But it would be a shame to lose some of the innovations and some of the collaboration and community spirit as well, which I find that where you have something that affects everybody for the first time ever, because you can't really there are things that affect society the whole time. So poverty, it could be anything. But when you've got something that affects both rich people, poor people, old people, young people, it doesn't matter who it is. All of a sudden, we become a little bit more human, and that spirit
Yeah.
of sharing and understanding is something that comes out. And I don't want to lose that particularly, because I think that is it's the same kind of atmosphere that you get around that last 2 weeks of the year before sort of Christmas,
yeah.
where everybody's nice to each other and it's, hey, don't worry about that. Yeah, we'll see you next week. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
And you've got that lovely sort of goodwill and the warmth out there. And I think I'd like to sort of cling on to it.
But I think also there's something, people bash down young people the whole time and how they're not kind. And I had an incident. So, obviously I go for a walk once a day, and I was walking past a really dilapidated house. And I'm amazed by old windows. So I was checking out the house, and all of a sudden this young girl from across goes, "What are you doing? What are you looking at this house?" I was like, "Sorry, I found the curtains and the windows interesting." She said, "Oh, that's fine. But I just watch out. There's a very elderly lady in this house on her own. And if anybody's around, I check out the whole time to see she's okay." And I thought it was really lovely. She really was looking out
for her. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we have to remember there is a lot of kindness, or there's my neighbor's young daughter, every time she goes to the shop, because, I can't go into the shop, she calls me, "Can I buy you something?" A 12, 15-year-old, I think she's 15, there is a lot of kindness out there. And I think like you said, it's very easy to focus on the negative. And I think one thing for me personally, it's about really focusing and appreciating the good things. And, I said it before, things like the community sense. I don't think I ever appreciated how much the community means to me. So in my case, it's the synagogue and the Jewish community, but I never realized how much it sticks my life together,
More than just a building, right? It's like
it's not
a big
just a building.
family. Yeah.
Yeah. And the support network. And I think creating art, for me, this particular project, creating the bird of hope, it's about giving people, I think objects are a good way of us. It's like a little reminder, a symbolism, something that we can look at, reflect, and remember, because we forget otherwise. And objects remind us.
So this bird of hope, do you have an example of it there?
Yes.
Hey, there you go. Right on cue.
I'm not very good in the thing. So this this is made out of Prospect.
Oh.
Okay. And it does actually have my signature on it, if you can see.
Yeah.
So it has my signature. And it's affordable, that everyone can sort of buy it. It is an affordable piece of art, and 10% of it goes to the NHS. That's my way of giving back. And it is actually developed from hand drawings. So it's all been
beautiful. Well, so it's printed on Perspex.
Yes, and it hangs on the wall, so you can hang it on the wall. It comes with a little hanging mechanism you can hang on the wall. The example doesn't have it because I don't want to scratch the other ones.
Yeah.
And it's just a little reminder. I see this as I think it's a very aesthetic, nice, hopeful piece of work. And it's a little reminder for families and for people. You can have a look at it and say, this reminds me of this time, and there is always hope. And I spoke before about the fact, me being a granddaughter of Holocaust survivors. And there's a few things I've really reflected on. He spoke about a haircut before.
Yeah.
And I remember always looking at my grandmother, which survived something like 3 or 4 concentration camps, including Auschwitz. And she was very particular about her looks. I mean, her hair was always immaculate, her nails. And I remember thinking, I never totally understood what's the importance of it. And being on lockdown, although I'm not as immaculate as my grandmother, but I really miss those things. It's something about giving you this feeling of self-respect, of being dignity. That's one thing. And the other thing is the hope. She never lost hope. And I think that sense, it doesn't matter what happens to us in life, there's always hope. There's always a way, to continue, even in the darkest of times. And I think the world has been shaken up. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But the question is, what do we take out of it? Because I think if we only remember the destruction, it's a pity. I mean, we should not. Again, I'm not undermining the loss. So many people lost their lives.
No.
In our community, we lost so many people, and it caused so much pain to people. But in the same time, it's created so much hope. And out of disaster and out of ruins, there's always an opportunity for us. to grow and to become better people. And if you talk in business point of view, there's always opportunities to recreate ourselves. And I think it's important for people to remember it, because it's so easy to fall into this self-pity and say, well, my business is over, my life is over. And yeah,
I can't think of a better message to end on, because
yeah,
I mean, part of what we do is we obviously talk to local businesses, and a lot of them are reopening now for the first time in months. And I know, as a small business owner, sometimes you need that collective push, if you like, or that backing, and to feel that you're not on your own, and that
yeah,
there are other people out there. And tremendously, I think we are all very much in the same boat.
yeah.
And we've got to go out there and find ways to reinvent ourselves and to get back on the horse again.
And I think one thing is really important is not being shy of asking for help. And because I've gone out and asked for help, and sometimes just my young kids. I mean, my young kids, my 17 and 20
Yeah.
something year olds, but you know, the
Now
younger
you're showing
generation.
your age when you call them young kids, right?
Yeah, I know. You know, the younger generation, which are fluent on the internet,
Yeah.
and you know, whatever, there's different charities out there, which you know, I've used Work Avenue, which have given me some, you know, some very good tips about how to, you know, how to start an internet business, speak to other people, other business owners, and I think that's the way forward. Really, just put yourself out there.
Fantastic. So if people want to get in touch with you, the best way to do it is it through your website?
Through my website, or you can text me on my website, I think, but you can always send me a message also on my work phone, which is 07929946169, and I'll get back to them usually within 24 hours, if not before.
That's fantastic. Chava, thank you very much for your time, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
talking to us.
Thank you, David.